Through the Research Awards program, the National Endowment for the Arts invites applicants to conduct studies grounded in the social and behavioral sciences on priority research topics. In this video, we'll discuss award amounts, cost share requirements, and the application project budget. For full information, please review the Research Awards program guidelines and application instructions found on the Research Awards webpage. For the Research Grants in the Arts program, applicants may request an award amount between $20,000 and $100,000. For the Research Labs program, applicants may request an award amount between $100,000 and $300,000. For both programs, priority will be given to projects that investigate the value and/or impact of the arts in American life using theory-driven approaches. All applicants must demonstrate a minimum 1-to-1 cost share. For example, if your NEA funding request is $20,000, you must show at least $20,000 in cost share funds. Cost share funds do not need to be committed when you submit your application. Federal funds may not be included as part of your cost share. This includes funding from other federal agencies such as the National Institutes of Health, among others. State arts agencies, regional arts organizations, and local arts agencies may serve as partners in projects. However, they may not receive NEA funds through the Research Awards program or contribute sub-awarded federal funds to the cost share. In your application, you will include a project budget outlining estimated project expenses and project income. Project expenses should demonstrate how you plan to spend both the NEA funds and the cost share. Project income is the combined total of your NEA request and your cost share. For example, if you have a $20,000 ask and are matching that with $20,000 in cost share funds, this amounts to $40,000 in total project income. Your expenses should be the same amount as your income. So if your total project income is $40,000, your expenses should also be $40,000. There are some activities and costs that you should not include in your application. Refer to the We Do Not Fund section in the Research Awards Program Guidelines PDF prior to completing your project budget. All items in your budget, whether supported by NEA funds or your cost share funds, must be reasonable, necessary to accomplish project objectives, and allowable under the NEA's general terms and conditions. Budget items must be allocable to your proposed activities and occur during the period of performance you have identified. Organizations cannot receive more than one NEA or federal award for the same costs or activities. If your project has partner organizations, keep in mind that they may not receive a separate NEA or other federal award to cover the same costs and activities. The application instructions PDF linked on the Research Awards webpage include detailed information about how to prepare your project budget. We'll go through a broad overview in the next few slides. There are two main sections, project expenses and project income. Let's start with expenses. Project expenses are broken out into two primary categories. The first is direct costs. This includes salaries and wages, which cover compensation for administrative and research personnel paid on a salary basis, travel costs, and other, which covers any other clearly identifiable project-related expenses. This includes additional personnel paid on a fee or stipend basis, such as third-party researchers and evaluators, as well as things like research participant compensation, publication costs, and supplies, to name a few. Applicants also have the option to include indirect costs, which are overhead, administrative, or general operating expenses that are not readily identifiable with a specific project. An indirect cost rate applicable to research is allowed under the Research Awards program. We strongly encourage applicants who include indirect costs to review the Indirect Cost Guide prepared by our Office of Grants Management. You can find a link to this guide in the project budget section of the application instructions. In the income section of the project budget, you'll have two main categories to show your cost share sources. The first is cash, which includes contributions from the applicant organization, such as salary and indirect costs or administrative overhead. This can also include monetary funds received from external sources, such as private foundations and individual donations. Third-party in-kind includes non-cash resources from external sources, such as art-making materials donated from an art supply store or research space, to list a couple examples. Here are a few tips. Do not include costs for activities before or after your period of performance. Before submitting your application, double-check that your income and expense totals equal the same amount. Under Research Grants in the Arts, our lowest grant amount is $20,000. Applications must show, at minimum, a $20,000 request, $20,000 in cost share, and $40,000 in expenses. Under Research Labs, our lowest grant amount is $100,000. Applications must show, at minimum, a $100,000 request, $100,000 in cost share, and $200,000 in expenses. In the application instructions, there is a link to a project budget template. The template includes a blank tab for you to enter your own figures, as well as a tab for an example budget. This template is for preparation purposes only. You will fill out the project budget directly in the applicant portal when submitting your application. We've covered the basics in this module, but be sure to review the application instructions linked on the Research Awards webpage for detailed guidance on each section of the project budget. For research grants in the arts, the earliest start date is January 1st, 2027, and the period of performance can be up to 2 years. For research labs, the earliest start date is January 1st, 2027, and the period of performance can be up to 3 years. Unique to the Research Labs program is a subsequent renewal process. The NEA may enter into one subsequent renewal award with the recipient of the NEA Research Labs Award for a project consistent with the intent of these guidelines. Any such future award, however, would be subject to agency priorities, the availability of funds, recipient performance, and the agency's regular review process. The exact level of the NEA award amount for the renewals will be determined by the NEA in consultation with the selected recipient at a later stage. However, it's anticipated that the renewal award amount will be approximately $100,000 to $150,000 with a required one-to-one cost share. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please reach out to NEA staff at nearesearchgrants@arts.gov.